So you start with one little cell, if you will, in a 2 by 2 matrix, which is individuals want things, and to the extent the state supplies them, uh, that represents value creation in the same way that the market creates value, right? And that also gives rise to the idea that citizens as customers of government, that we ought to be trying to provide benefits to particular individuals that they value in their terms, right? Then we go, and that's the utilitarian, individual utilitarian idea. Then we go to the individual idea of justice and fairness. And there the person says, well, I have needs that the society, if it were a good society, all right, would supply me with, or I have rights, which if it were a good society, I would be vindicated for me, right? And I'm having the experience that neither of those things is true. So now, and therefore, an improvement in my condition in the dimension of deontological ideas is that I feel like I'm being more justly and fairly treated, and that the needs that I might have from society as a whole might be given to me as a matter of not only public welfare, but also as a matter of justice, right? So individual interests in the good, individual interests in the just and the fair. But throughout this, notice that what keeps looming up everywhere is this idea that there's a collective out there as well as a individual, uh, and that the collective is making judgments uh, about what's good for it, all its members, if you will, and also what's just and fair for all of its members. So now you've got a 2 by 2 matrix in which you could think of there being effects that government produces that register at the individual level with respect to material satisfaction and gratification and material well-being. There's an experience that government can create that creates a sense of fairness and justice at the individual level, where I'm uh, my rights are being vindicated, and my ideas about what I need are being adjudicated at the collective level to be um, something that we would all agree to and provide, sort of as a privilege, perhaps as a right as well, right? And then there's this broad. Then suddenly you make this big leap and you say, well, there's this other thing though that there's how do we add up those individual experiences, all right? And how do we decide whether the aggregate condition of the society we're living in is good or just and fair, right? And that brings you then this second tier of consideration, which is I'm now a person looking around me and I know what my own experience is from the point of view of material welfare and what the my experience is with respect to justice and fairness. But I'm looking around and witnessing the conditions of large numbers of other people. And I'm comparing that to my own idea of what a good and just society might be. All right. And that would be perhaps, if I have a broad enough imagination and degree of sympathy, it would be one that treated all individuals well materially, that met their needs, that treated them fairly and justly. Um, and I now, as an individual, think not only about myself living in these conditions, but I can see the conditions in which other people are living. And I can say, I think I'm living in a society that is reliably good, that it's providing material things that the population as a whole needs, or I'm living in a society where, and a society that's just, where people are getting what they're entitled to and what they deserve, all right? Um, and on that basis, then I can choose to participate in a collective process of deliberation that decides whether we should use the collectively owned powers of the state, namely tax dollars and regulatory authority, to produce something different than what we're currently observing. And that gives us then these four different elements of public value.